Hello, my name is Dr. Keith Kalg. My sign name is a K by the cheek, and I am here to talk to you today. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. Just recently moved to Washington, D.C. I am a deaf man, a deaf family from Washington. I went to a deaf school and graduated and went to Rochester, New York, and graduated from there for one of my degrees. In about 5 years, I thought I would go back to California and get an education degree there, and then back to New York. And about 2 years later, I thought it would be time to go. So here I am in North Carolina. I work at the university here, and I have a PhD in educational linguistics. And so here I am today. So I'm going to talk to you about my some educational stuff and some signing. And you think that maybe some signs are 1,000 years old, and are some. So the topic today we're going to talk about are some ASL lexical signs 1,000 years old by myself. And I wrote a book on this. So we're going to be exploring the ancestral roots of American Sign Language, the lexical borrowing from Caesarean Sign Language and French Sign Language, which is FSL and CSL. Many people think I have never seen the word Caesarean Sign Language, CSL, and that's fine. I will explain a little bit about it. A long time ago, there was a monk who said that it was illegal to voice in the church. And so he thought of some signs and maybe some finger spelling. So the monk had two separate things, trappings and Caesarean. So inside of the Caesarean Sign Language, the monk thought he would to start writing down some of their own gestures and signs. In 168 AD, Cluny Montessori in France, and that's where it was. And later, in year 1789 through 1799, at St. Joseph's Abbey in Spencer, Massachusetts, there was just a time there that they would research and discuss what the CSL is. So French Sign Language, and that is how you spell it, their own name in French. That's what it looks like. We typically know it as LSF, not FSL. Some in their area, in 1761, French had a specific school, Abbé de l'Épée founded. It was a deaf school in Paris, France. They started collecting in their town, kind of throwing some ideas together using LSF. And so they researched some I researched some on LSF. LSF is similar, is as old as CSF, and so there's kind of there's the three ways, and then you'll see the more old ASL, and then fifth we have the modern ASL, then Indian Sign Language, and then Japanese Sign Language. So there's kind of a genealogy of where sign language came about. And you were thinking maybe Indian Sign Language, Japanese Sign Language, and maybe those are more like the pictures, the CSL and the LSF, they're more exact, close to each other. And so Indian Sign Language is a little bit different than that. Their language itself is different and maybe closer to CSL. Maybe there's more of a connection that way. So Indians use Japanese Sign Language as well to help them kind of narrowing down. There's a lot of signs, so they kind of narrow it down to some very basic signs, which is what I found in some of my research. The first one, the CSL, the dictionary, was printed in 1975 by Barkat, and you can see some pictures on there with the words next to it and then the sign and how to sign it. In 1975? Really? You think it's that young? But it is much older than that. It's been passed for many, many years. Maybe Barkat was the one who studied and printed them and took the pictures, and now it became just this book. So you'll see that some of them are very similar to it. You'll like this. So LSF is pretty old as well, the second oldest. It has a lot of books in it. In Paris, France, you can buy some of the books. It has 3 different dictionaries. The first one, from a man named Borland in 1855, and he drew some pictures of LSF, and you can see how the picture goes along and step by step how the sign works. The second of the third dictionary is by Pelletier in year 1856. And then the third is by Lambrant in year 1865. So the 3 of them total became one really great ASL dictionary. And so you can pick up on those signs as well. It has the 3 different dictionaries all became one dictionary and really got down to what they mean. So CSL has 537 lexical signs. Early LSF has about 800, and modern LSF dictionary has hundreds. One of the older ASL dictionaries has hundreds. ASL Handshake Dictionary from Gallaudet has many hundreds as well. Indian Sign Language has hundreds, and Japanese Sign Language, that dictionary, also has hundreds as well. So how do they overlap and decide CSL uses which one? So CSL has divided it into a few different parts. for the different lexical sign language. There's a lot of them there. Many of them have been here for many years. In different cultures, St. Joseph Abbey's listing, and so total there are 537 lexical signs from those two different time periods when they all matched them up together and kind of added the right signs, so a final total of 497 signs. So the final list of lexical signs, they narrowed it down, and then they sent them out to Japan. And in the hearing group, there was lots of different help of which one in ASL and Japanese Sign Language, all the way down to the last picks of 55. Really interesting signs. Now I just want to talk a little bit about those 55 and how we kind of put them together. They're in specific groups. ASL signs are really similar to LSF signs, but very different as well. So the word meaning after. In CSL, it looks like this. For LSF, it's kind of more of a bent hand. And now, if you take both of them, both lexical signs, LSF, you see how they kind of match together and make the ASL sign. The sign for fever, you know if you're sick. The lexical sign for CSL looks a little bit like this, and for FSL, it's the same. For ASL, it's different. It has a few different signs. Another plate, the CSL sign looks like this, and next you see the LSF sign that looks a little bit like this, and then you see the CSL and the LSF, they look very similar, but in ASL it's very different. So this one for poor, you see the old sign for CSL like this, and then the LSF sign also looks like this, and it's the same exact sign. But for ASL, the lexical sign looks very different. The other sign for rule, the old CSL sign looks like this. The LSF sign looks very similar to this. And so now we use the sign rule. And those are very different. The CSL, the LSF are very, very same, but the ASL lexical sign is not at all. The sign for ugly, the old CSL sign looks like this. The old LSF sign looks like that. And now our today ASL sign looks very similar to this. The CSL and the LSF are the same, but we see that there are maybe 4 that are different. The CSL, so in in CSL and LSF and ASL, you'll see some similarities and some differences as well. The old CFS sign for black looks like that. The old LSF sign for black looks like this. And the current ASL sign looks like this. Very similar, very little differences with the LSF from 1856. The other sign, the CSL sign, the old CSL sign for prey looks like this. Other LSF sign in 1865 is a different sign, and it looks like this. Or like this as well. But now, our ASL, we can see that prey looks like this. Looks very similar to the old LSF signs as well. In the middle, you see kind of both of them matching up into the middle of LSF. Another word meaning tomorrow you see the CFL, or CSL looking like this, and then you'll see the 1856, the LSF looking like that, and then now we see the ASL lexical sign looking very much like this. They both are very similar. The CSL and the LSF are a little different, and then you see that the ASL and FSL are very similar. So now I want to touch on CSL and LSF, how they are there's a strong resemblance and a little bit of a resemblance to ASL. This word means flower. You see it like this in the CSL. The LSF, the 1855, you see like that. And now for ASL, you see the sign for flower that we typically use. For heat or hot, for CSL, you see the lexical sign like this. The old 1856 sign for FSL looks like that, exactly the same. And then for ASL, you'll see the hot. You see a little bit of a difference in that. Another one could be low. The old CSL sign, or in the LSF, are exactly the same. Looks like this. And now our ASL sign looks like this. Another one, meaning meat, you see this old CSL sign look like this. The old LSF sign in 1855 look like this. Very similar. Our sign today looks like this. For the sign for milk, the old CSL sign, the lexical sign, looks like this. And the old LSF sign in 1855, exactly the same, looks like that. Now our sign looks a little bit different, like this, for milk. The other one is work. You see the old CSL lexical sign for work, like this. A new sign looking like this, very similar for the LSF sign in 1996, and then also for our ASL that looks the same. Lastly, I want to show how CSL, FSL, and ASL are all, there's a very strong resemblance. The word hard, the old sign in CSL, you see the hand shape, the LSF 1856, and our sign looks like this for hard. Now there's a new sign too, but typically the old sign looks like this. Another one is the word like. The CSL is from St. Joseph's Abbey's and looks like this. The CSF from 1856 also looks like this. And the ASL kind of older sign looks like this, more for love. Another old sign that we have is for red. And we see that the 1856 is a little different, but now for ASL we move the finger a little bit more as a red. Another one would be the CSL lexical sign for same as. And the 1855 FSL sign looks like this, and now we use the ASL sign that looks very similar to this. Another word is thank. The old sign, the ASL sign, from the authorized listing looks like this. The 1865 sign for FSL looks like this. And then now our ASL sign looks very similar to this. The last one will be the word what. Excuse me. The sign for the CSL lexical sign you see like this. For the LSF lexical sign in 1855 you see like that, and then now for ASL we have the what with more of a shake. So all three are very similar, and so those four things are very interesting to me. Looking back on some things, we see four different palm orientations, the location, the hand shape, and also the movement. Discussing those four things, what percentage typically stays the same in those lexical signs? The highest was 74.5%, or 41 out of the 55, was the location. The second was the palm orientation at 70.9%, and the other was the hand shape at 35 out of 60 and 63.6%. And I had no idea with the movement that it was so hard to see that. I didn't know, 58%. It was a little bit more clear in the dictionary. If most of the research, we saw a lot in the research that there was that lexical signing. You could see in the pictures a lot of similarities in that. Borrowing in contact. the phonological, the clues that we see in the history, you'll see the morphological complexities, you'll see the contangs, the geographical clues, meaning where is it, and then you'll also see the semantic clues as well that support my topic in the discussion. And that there's been the borrowing, the passing down from CSL to SFL and all the way down to ASL. And we see this phonological clues as well. We also have the way that some of them are very similar, with the meat and the hard and the red, and how they are very similar, and how the signs look a lot. The phonological clues are there. The CSL and the old LSF and ASL signs for hard, red, think, same, what, strong. There are strong phonological clues within that. Also, there's phonological, historical, and geographical clues as well. With CSL, it started in year 168 AD in France, and then LSF is started about 1761 in France, and then ASL became really big, and with Laurent Clerc in 1816 AD, and also in France as well. And so the area that they started was all the same, so we can see that there is a good connection with that as well. Some more things for borrowing and contract through that has been really interesting. The old language and then the new language, typically many people kind of separate into that and borrow those things as well. Like for animals, for CSL it looks like this, and now for LSF it looks like that, and now ASL, we see how they've changed, kind of morphed from one sign to another and very similar. Another sign we see for CSL, we see plate like this. For LSF, we see it like this, and now for ASL, just plate. So the way that the word has kind of narrowed itself down and morphed to one simple sign in ASL. It was very interesting and good for us to know that. Phonological findings and phonological changes, and changing in the number of hands from 2 to 1. And also signing became more of a central thing, not so low to the side and more to the central part. And we also see the shifting of the hands and the head movements. The phonological changes, one parameter change for the CSL sign for black moved from under the nose to the head. So LSF and ASL are the same. For cat, the CSL was down here for cat with 2 hands, and now it's changed to 1 hand. and looks like this. Well, we know that other one. So, changes in the number from 2 to 1 hand. Cat, we see, changes to 1. From CSF, LSL to ASL, changes to 1. And then milk with 2 hands from CSL and LSF to ASL. ASL only has 1. And remain and stay, CSL, and LSF now have ASL with 1 hand. And centralization of the signs, both are different. For boots, and now ASL has boots, and we move it up. The sign for low, CSL and LSF have it here. ASL has brought it up a little bit more. And the sign for like, CSL and LSF now is ASL's love and more in the middle, more central. Also, we see the phonological findings shifting from head movements and hand movements. The head is more up, where we saw the head move for flower in LSF, and ASL now is more the hand movement. For light, CSL, the head change, and LSF and ASL, now the hand moves. For think and LSF, the head moved, and now in ASL it moves. Another one we will discuss, some semantic changes. We see the old sign for water, CSL, looking like this. For wet, for the ASL handshake, we look like this. Okay? So, how do you sign water? How do we get water? From wet and the CSL sign of water, and how do they look similar? There's just a few of them here. The semantic changes were shown in these words, the CSL, LSF, and ASL for after, and now the ASL is late. Do you see the change? What about the sign for like? The old 2 signs are different, and now it's ASL love. There's that change, the semantic change. The old LSF sign for pick looked like this. And now we use ASL sign for earn. Do you see the change? Another one could be for pour. That CSL sign and LSF sign, meaning pour. Now we use it as beg. From pour to beg. Same sign, different word. The meaning has changed. The old LSF sign and CSL sign for ugly are the same, but now we see angry in ASL. There's a change there. And you know that one. So, what would I offer for you for the future? To check in to see some more things, some more CSL dictionaries. I think there are maybe 19 more. And kind of get your own opinion. Check into some more CSL, ASL analysis, and there are many different things on that. Sit down and focus on CSL, LSF, ASL, and seeing the way that they all connect. I recommend you research some CSL, LSF, and seeing how those are similar. Check out something like water and water. How are they same? How are they different? Research more iconity analysis. Maybe you don't know the sign, but maybe the way that you can pick up on the sign as well. Some research with the LSF and signing, and where do they stem from, and the initialization and that borrowing, the B, is good for ASL. You can see the way that those two work together. Now I would do that with some borrowing. Become aware of those. Fifth, I would check out the ASL Indian Sign Language analysis and see how those are very different and very similar. It's an interesting little thing. In 1910, our Army general called, the name slipped me, but I can't remember. The last name was Long, I think. Went to the Rocky Mountains and became friends with an Indian interpreter and wrote down 100 signs that Native Americans would use. So before that, they used some signs as well. But most of them, they would work on their work as well for Gallaudet, and they realized some things that were very similar to our ASL signs. So check into those signs that they are very, very similar to ours. And also, there's more Martha's Vineyard sign language. What is sign language? Check into that. How do they learn their own signing? Just some recommendations for you to check out on your own. So, my point, my research, my PhD research was, do you think it's possible that some of our signs in ASL are really 1,000 years old? About 500 years before, do you think it's really possible? I don't know. We will see. When you're driving home and you look at the light and you watch your head move, what do you think? I don't know. Thank you very much for everything.